What if I told you, the first kings of Earth were not human at all, but gods who ruled for over 241,000 years? Once upon a time, gods ruled the earth. Not from the skies, not through whispers. They walked among us. They governed directly. And according to ancient records, they ruled for over 241,000 years. This sounds impossible. But in the early 1900s, a team of archaeologists digging in the ruins of Nippur, modern-day Iraq, made a discovery that shattered history. Buried beneath the dust of time, they uncovered a small clay prism. Only 8 inches tall, but carrying knowledge too heavy for belief. This artifact became known as the Weld-Blundell Prism. Etched on its surface was a list. Not a myth, not poetry, but a formal record of kings. Line after line, names, reigns, cities. Some ruled for decades, some for centuries. But the first 8 reigned for tens of thousands of years. One king alone for 36,000. Together, 241,200 years. Were these kings human? Or were they something more? And here is the haunting part. Later rulers on this same list, like Gilgamesh, are real and verified by archaeology. So if the second half is true, how can we dismiss the first 8? If Gilgamesh was real, then what about the kings who came before him? What if kingship itself didn't come from humans, but fell from the sky? That's exactly what the Sumerians believed. They were the world's first great civilization, rising thousands of years ago in Mesopotamia, today's Iraq and Kuwait. And their records say something shocking. Kingship was not invented by men. It was handed down by the gods. Their first city was called Eridu. To the Sumerians, it wasn't just a home. It was the city of the gods. The place where heaven first touched earth. And in that city ruled the very first king, Alulim. He wasn't elected. He wasn't crowned by men. He was chosen by powers beyond this world. The Sumerian King List says Alulim reigned not for years, not even centuries, but for 28,800 years. They even wrote it with exact numbers, measured in sacred cycles called sars. If the records are true, Alulim was not just a man. He was something greater. But if Alulim ruled for 28,800 years, the king who came after him shook the world even more. If Alulim was the first king, then who carried his legacy forward? The King List gives the answer. His successor was Alalgar, the second king of Eridu. And his reign lasted not for decades, but for 36,000 years. But what did he do with such endless time? The records credit Alalgar with shaping the very order of society. He built the first systems of rule. He guided the construction of temples. He aligned structures with the stars above. But here's the question. How did a civilization so young suddenly create such advanced designs? Archaeology in Eridu shows foundations dating back over 7,000 years. The layout, the precision, the alignment with constellations. It feels less like the work of beginners and more like the knowledge of masters. So where did this knowledge come from? Some theorists believe Eridu itself was not just a city, but a colony. A place where non-human beings guided mankind. If Alulim brought kingship from heaven, Alalgar tried to build heaven on earth. But the next king didn't just build temples. He forged fire from the stars. Imagine a king whose throne was the forge of the gods. After Alalgar's long reign, power passed to Enmenluana, the third great king. His rule stretched an unbelievable 43,200 years. But where did he rule from? His city was called Bad Tibra, known in legend as the city of the sacred forge. The place where fire, stone, and star metal first touched human hands. What made the city so special? According to the Sumerians, Bad Tibra was where divine beings taught mankind the secrets of metal. Here, tools were shaped, weapons were born, and the art of forging became a holy act. Why was metallurgy seen as sacred? Across the world, other cultures echo the same story. The Greeks spoke of Hephaestus, the smith of Olympus. Egypt told of Ptah, the divine craftsman. India honored Vishvakarman, maker of heavenly tools. Could all of these myths point to the same truth? That Enmenluana was not just a man, but part of a race of technologists from beyond the earth. If Alalgar built temples aligned with the heavens, Enmenluana forged the very fire of the heavens. But if he forged metals, The next king forged the stars. Not a warrior. Not a builder. A king who read the sky like scripture. After Enminluana's age of fire and metal, the throne passed to Enmingalana, the fourth great king. His reign lasted 28,800 years. But what made him different? His very name holds the answer. Enmingalana means Lord of the Celestial Decrees. What does that mean? To the Sumerians, the Mi were sacred laws, divine blueprints of order. Whoever guarded them was not just a ruler, but a keeper of heavenly knowledge. So what knowledge did Enmingalana guard? Many believe this was the dawn of astronomy. The moment humans first tracked the movements of stars and planets. Not to study them for science, but to follow them as the voice of the gods. Think about it. Could the first maps of the sky have been drawn under Enmingalana's reign? Was he the one who turned heaven into a calendar, a code, a law? If Enminluana forged fire for earth, Enmingalana forged order from the skies. But then came a king who broke every boundary, dying, and returning again and again. The king who died, and was born again. After Enmingalana, who read the skies like scripture, the throne passed to Dumuzid, a ruler unlike any before him. His reign lasted 36,000 years. But why is his name remembered more than others? Because Dumuzid did not live only in the king list. He appears in ancient hymns, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and in the myths of the goddess Inanna. So who was he really? To his people, Dumuzid was the shepherd king. But his story went far beyond kingship. He became a symbol of death and rebirth. Each year he was said to die with the decay of the land. Each spring he returned with new life. The Sumerians saw him as the god of vegetation, sacrifice, and renewal. Does this sound familiar? His story echoes across time. In Egypt's Osiris, in the Middle East's Tammuz, even in the story of Jesus. If Enmingalana gave order to the heavens, Dumuzid gave hope through resurrection. But Dumuzid's endless cycle of death and rebirth led to a mystery city. One that vanished forever. What if an entire city and its king simply vanished from history? That is the mystery of Ensipadsadana, the fifth great king of Sumer. According to the king list, he ruled for 28,800 years. But unlike others, his city cannot be found. Where did he reign? The records say Larak, a place once named among the holy cities before the Great Flood. Yet today, no ruins remain. No stones. No walls. Nothing. So what was Larak? Ancient texts call it a city of healing and judgment. Some connect it to the god Ninurta, master of law and agriculture. Could it have been a center of wisdom? But here's the question, if it was real, why is it gone? Some researchers believe Larak was not just a city, but part of a global energy grid. A system built by the gods to balance natural and spiritual forces across Earth. If true, Ensipadsadana was not a king of people but a guardian of balance. But then came a king who was not lost, he was taken directly to the heavens. Larak and its king vanished from Earth. But what if a king himself vanished into the sky? Imagine a ruler who was taken into heaven without dying. That was Enmindarana, the sixth great king of Sumer. He ruled from Sippar for an incredible 21,000 years. But it is not the length of his reign that makes him unforgettable. It is how his story ends. The records say Enmindarana was chosen by the gods to receive their secrets. What secrets? The mysteries of astronomy, of reading the heavens, and of divination, the art of knowing fate itself. But how did he learn them? Ancient texts claim he was taken alive into heaven, lifted into the realm of the gods. Does this sound familiar? In the Hebrew Bible, Enoch walked with God, and was also taken without death. Two stories. Two cultures. The same impossible fate. So was Enmindarana the Sumerian Enoch? Or was Enoch the Hebrew Enmindarana? Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. This king did not die. He was carried away. But the last king would not ascend, he would face a flood that ended the world. The last king, before the waters swallowed the world. His name was Ubirtutu, the seventh and final antediluvian ruler of Sumer. According to the king list, he reigned for 18,600 years. Where did he rule? From a city called Shuruppak. And unlike the lost city of Larak, Shuruppak was real. Archaeologists have dug its ruins on the banks of the Euphrates. And what did they find? Layers of mud and silt, the remains of a massive flood around 3000 BCE. So who was Ubur-Tutu beyond the numbers? He was the father of Ziusudra, the Sumerian Noah. When the gods decided to drown the earth, Ziusudra was warned to build a great boat. His survival became the blueprint for every flood story that followed. And here the King List makes its sharpest break. After Ubur-Tutu's rule, the record stops cold. A single line divides history, then the flood swept over. It was the end of the world as they knew it, the end of the first kings. And when the waters receded, humanity had changed forever. If later kings were real, why dismiss the first 8? That is the question the Sumerian King List forces us to ask. The record moves smoothly from rulers who reigned for tens of thousands of years, to kings we can verify in archaeology and history. No break. No pause. Just one continuous story. So what does this mean? Were the earliest rulers myths? Or were they something far more? The pattern does not stop with Sumer. In Hindu texts, the first kings lived for thousands of years. In Egyptian records, the gods ruled before men. In the Bible, the patriarchs lived for centuries. And almost every culture remembers one thing the same, the great flood that wiped the world clean. So ask yourself, why do these stories echo across the globe? Were the first kings symbolic? Or were they divine beings, maybe even the Anunnaki who came from beyond our world? The Sumerian King List is not just history. It is a riddle, a warning, a doorway to the unknown. Who really ruled the earth before us? The answer still waits beneath the sands of time.